Gravedigger Queen here. The clock strikes 2 and I know what to do. Time for a break and the story. Throw in a little glory. Might get a little gory, but it's all in good fun. I loves me a sandwich when I take in my murder and mayhem. Dinner and games just like medieval times. Today's tale is my Oscar winner. Something with murders and mayhem. Tentacles and slime monsters. Reminiscent of a 1980s John Carpenter situation. It's my little birthday surprise when I see a monster bust out a chest or some such bullshit. Tonight's tale is about a man named Walter and a girl named Danielle. The name of this tale is called Danielle by Montsho Shelby. It started with a whistle, something as innocuous as the TV not turned off with the voices collecting into a random white noise. But then it got louder, like the hum of a random machine noise or the ringing in one's ears after a loud bang. Even when she checked the buzz, it wasn't loud enough to carry very far. It was a whine that seemed tailor-made for her. Alice got out of bed and slowly made her way to the kitchen. She didn't grab a weapon or think to defend herself in the least because whatever it was sounded harmless. Could have been her refrigerator on the fritz for all she was concerned. Like the whine of all inexplicable noises, the moment she quieted herself was the moment it stopped. She waited a bit longer, basking in the silence, just a bit more before she gave it up altogether. The moment passed. She rolled her eyes and shook her head, passing it off as paranoia. She opened the refrigerator. She reached for a bottle of juice, and all of a sudden, she felt a pinching pain in her eyes and everything went black. She dropped the juice and instinctively reached for her eyes, but something blocked them. She could feel slimy tentacles attached to her sockets. The moment she took in breath as if to scream, she felt something sharp jab her in the throat, and the only sound that she could make was a dull, listless whistle. A hiss almost, like air escaping a balloon. There was a gargle, and she could feel herself choking on blood. Before she expired, she heard the whistling hum, but this time, she felt breath on the back of her neck. Danielle put on eyeshadow to accentuate her big and seductive eyes. She looked in the mirror and applied her fire engine red lipstick as expertly as an artist applying paint to canvas. She had a body that was finely sculpted, as if molded in the image of a Greek goddess. Her heels were high, and her dress was red. If any could find a blemish on her mocha skin, they would have been telling lies. Her muscle tone alone would have gotten her pushed to the front of the line at most any pageant, even before you factored in her unrealistically perfect shape. She shook out her hair that was as lush as a forest, that dipped down to her shoulder blades. With one final shake and last peek in the mirror, the beautification ritual was complete. She left her house with a look that was beyond confidence. It was a knowing look, as if she didn't need to be told she achieved perfection, because she was. Walter sat on the fire escape with one foot draped over the windowsill. He looked upon the city with some measure of wonder. Even though it had been a little over a year after the invasion happened, there were some buildings that had not fully recovered. He took a look in his barren apartment. There was almost nothing inside but a folding chair, folding table, and a small television. He reached his hand down to just below his feet and grabbed binoculars. He took a look across the rat's nest he was living in to the glamorous lofts a block down. He had had his eye on that place for a few weeks, learning the routines and patterns, and even managed to get a gander at the safe code. Walter had an intense stare and bigger than usual forehead, though it may have just been an optical illusion of his balding. He wore a flannel shirt with a well-groomed beard that connected the little hair that was left. He was about 50-something, and though in great shape, he had gray hair sprinkled in. He lost track of his age a while ago because the passage of time felt irrelevant to him as it was, and he rarely had people around him that framed the seasons or put them in context. All he could say was that he was a thief and had been for more years than he could remember. He was very good, excellent in fact, but he had never made that one big score that all specialists dreamed of that would take him out of the game on top. He was just shy of the motherlode. He was like a pro prospect that never got noticed by a major league scout. He had worked with crews before, but he didn't prefer it anymore. At least when he was by himself, he was the only person he had to worry about double-crossing. A black cat slinked its way onto the fire escape. He didn't know who owned it, or if it was an alley cat, but it came around from time to time and just sat close to him. It was an odd thing. He didn't feed it or show it any affection. It just seemed to like hanging out with him. He wasn't a pet person in the least, but he did like this cat in particular. He, or maybe she, was a low-maintenance friend that didn't have a handout. Walter took a few more glances at the loft down the street before deciding to himself he knew all he needed to know, and it was time to finish this job out. He stepped back into his Spartan apartment and slowly closed the window. He hesitated for a moment and took a look at the cat. "Night," Walter said to the animal. It raised its head as if it understood and slowly walked down the emergency exit. Danielle held a drink and mingled on the outskirts of the party. Even when she was right in the background, she was still the center of attention. A woman as beautiful as her didn't have the luxury of solitude. She used her moment alone to glance at the paintings at the art showing without some man buzzing in her ear annoyingly. It wasn't as if she didn't crave the attention. It's just that she rarely had moments that weren't filled with it. "Enjoying the view?" said the voice of a man wearing the cleanest black suit one could have. He was an ebon-skinned man with the smile of a predator, sharp yet somewhat disarming. "I was," said Danielle with annoyance. "Did you want anything, or did you just come to annoy me?" Danielle asked the man. He smiled harder, as if her insult were an amusing joke to him. "The boss just wanted to check up. See how you were," he said. "See if I was suffering?" "Yes," he added without forethought or pretense. "Well, fuck him and fuck you," said Danielle, poised to throw her drink in his face. The man stared her in the eyes with a quiet menace that told her she should rethink something so reactionary. Danielle drank it down, as if that bitter wine were her emotions. "You just remember who cheated on who," he said as he walked away with his hands folded behind his back.